Good morning, Raphael, and good morning to all the viewers. I appreciate you logging on this day. Today is the kickoff of the Division of Human Resources virtual webinar series. Today, we will be getting an overview on customer service. And on Wednesday, April 13th, we will have the sexual harassment awareness. Wednesday, May 11th will be leadership skills. And Wednesday, May 18th, motivation and understanding techniques. We also appreciate our Navajo Nation employees for the hard work they have done thus far throughout this pandemic. And this pandemic has changed a lot in human resources and public administration. Being a student of public administration, we have seen a change in what needs to be done, not just in government, but in all aspects, in all organizations throughout this country. And we most likely will see a difference into the future of how things are done. Meaning customer service is not just answering phones, it's also about answering comments, answering emails, doing these types of virtual events and monitoring them as well. And so we appreciate the Division of Human Resources under the leadership of Dr. Perfilia Fowler, who has been doing an outstanding job in empowering our Navajo Nation employees through these types of trainings. And we also want to say thank you to all our division directors, their managers, for encouraging their employees to listen in on these types of discussions. With Dr. Fowler, my wife Ophelia, and I have seen some of these Navajo Nation employee trainings at the Workforce Development Training Center, and very encouraging, very enlightening. I know that times are changing, and we have to bring in new ways of doing customer service, as well as providing direct services to our Navajo people, but at the same time, utilizing our way of life, teaching our culture and tradition and our language. So ane da is sunol tsangi do dan hin natligi to DJ equa na antin ho do qua shadin linigi Dr. Perfilia Fowler, Division of Human Resources, Jaja Tilade Linigi Equadoshi. Nihiche hat zito ado bandal nishigin handal nishigishi equado hannet nihiche could they let all this ado jo hishna anneston lane he keni hidna badate nigi jo besndale nishto les cabinet do nihina antindo nihel nihizad abol so DJ ha ishin hilja ilni to kusenskagi nas eitzata but nache naso shin ya hashin hot edo lesoko alkishna anneshigishin hot nasit ito so eben nache kon nantin shin hiche could they let or less mo not leho customer service, sexual harassment awareness, leadership skills, motivation and understanding techniques. They nenigishin kodo nihiche hanne ade leto les nan tinete. Ado beshin dat no tindo let haganas ad. Nachalshin yitzoken yinalken yikedan zenigi a jo nan tinigido a jo oho ahagi bada huil nawe nilsko. Jo alka nature to alkishin nesto les jo. Ahot yadik then bichini kana halendina snegi. So here la she hinshon nesani ibashin to the chini da shiro trachini da shanal. So Raphael no here do ade hanet adaslegi do by Henitsin. So consoshin hijahasit. Thank you so much for tuning in today for the first of 4 webinars in this series, Customer Service. So thank you so much, Raphael. Thank you, Dr. Perfilia Fowler, for your leadership. And I'll turn this back to you. Enjoy the webinar. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, President. We really appreciate your time as well as your encouraging words. And so with that, and without further ado, we'll go ahead and introduce, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Perfilia Fowler, Division Director of Human Resources, presenting on customer service. Dr. Fowler?
Yeah, doyat ade that is not saigi o kodoshi Nanit'in lini ni nani ne dole o ko ado di Nanit'in lini she o yugo bata hanne de kodo ya had ni dole ado shnat lini not ani President Jonathan Nez the do thank you for your leadership. DJ customer service really bata need net do ba nishne ka ish customer service do the neck etch hit oje jo kodo ba shne do le el say jo alt on he got it ni hit thousand do ken lini jo se be hajish the nani lini we start with our clan. What is customer service? And it all falls back on the individual, where you come from, how you were brought up, how you were raised. So within this lesson, I'll do both English and Navajo. I understand that sometimes Navajo language is a bit direct to the point. And then there are some that do understand Navajo, but don't fully speak it, but they understand it. So I'll use both, so I'll go ahead and do the best that I can. So first and foremost, Shady Maideshki Ado Torichin, Ebashichin, Kapa, Edashich, I'm born for Coyote Pass, born into Bitterwater, and then also paternal Water Edge, and my paternal is a Red Bottom. So those are some of the things that, and if I go into clans, and each of my clans have stories, and they were pretty much, and I'll tell you a story. I always say that a story not shared is a wasted story. And when I shared the story of Maideshkijni, I did my own research and said, how did we come about to getting this clan? And there's so many clans that this Maideshkijni is related to. So there's other clans that are related to brothers, sisters, so any of you are any of these clans, we are related in some way or another. So when I researched my clan, it was more like, you know what? I'm not Navajo. He Miss Pebble Indian. She it's ela go yugo bahan and DJ customer service bedi nini aj ehne idne. Adona kone nas dish killende do ida. Kodo yisa shiaho chik edo shidne. Totus totus aholia. Late does nishin a start sneak, Quahoan namazas the nani na shidoshito nipple. Ado eshiaho, ado shanale, the holon shahas tweed, the holon tahatology, shamasane shada, the holon tahatology. Hodon and Tinlini, shilek a day's la. Ado anit kin antin Hadesh na ra and son shitanasen. Kodo age shike in the shni totus ado yis ya totus aholia ad ya nan schnado it's in ishni then todo on hihatas linda. Ocean you hot keda honit in the bahajan do shetinjone. El do etinda, shamasando shanale etaninda, hard dale, sani sinlia ado biga habasam, son o jotinsen, Jo e dilzen do e dilzen Williene. Jo e ka oyo sabadadi ka. I'm originally from Lower Wheatfields. My husband and I, we moved back to Wheatfields, and this place was my paternal grandparents. Now, Kaisana da Janina Shanale, Batani Sosibige number 2, Zani Chibige, Ja'ado E Yisachike, and that's where I'm from. I was brought up here to wear really harsh discipline. I was taught to move fast, to get things done fast, because we always had to prepare for the next season. And there was a lot of discipline that happened here. And, going back and moving back is such an honor. And to move back here, to bring livestock here, man, that's what a wonderful way to enjoy life. We don't have running water, we don't have electricity, but I told myself that if my grandparents lived that way, why not just embrace it? So it's really soothing. And I always tell people, go back to where you were brought up and raised, because it's a healing process. And this is, this builds my strength. And our elders put this forth way many years back, not knowing that, I would move back here. So that's kind of where I'm from. So anytime you deal with customers and your customer can say, well, where's this lady from? Where is she from? And so learning about yourself, knowing who you are, where you come from, and that's really the key part of customer service. Introductions, really important. Yin Xie, my name is. In our cultural teaching, we were taught not to say your name. But now in this generation, we have to say, this is who we are. Your mother's clan, then you introduce the second part is you introduce your father's clan. That's my father's clan. Then your maternal clan, paternal clan, so the introduction is really important when you talk with customers. And then you'll have an elderly that come up and say, and it really builds that good relationship. So you always, this is a big key, and this is the start of the introduction is K. And our clanship, introduce yourself with all 4 clans. And if you don't know it, it's time to do your research and then introduce yourself. Offer a handshake with your right hand. And I know during this pandemic, this is one thing that we were not to do, but there is now, we can go out and shake hands. Afterwards, we can use a hand sanitizer. We do a lot of fist bumps right now. And Ashon, Alek and Dinaha, Dinas, Nihido, Nihits Nihila, Dosto Bahinida. Oh, if it's Zenst or Chilende, Ada, that in the Dunhit on me. A quande, Yat, got Shikedo Shin. Ada, the third part is provide appropriate greeting. Yat Olia, Yat hello. And when I went through a lot of the teachings of my own, I used to say Yat and I thought that was like really good morning. And then one of my elders told me, Shiyaja, Yat ado denene. To Sawal Yeta. And I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And they're really direct, so just say hello. And a lot of times we have a hard time when we see somebody, how do we greet them? How do we greet them? Just a mahol, yeah. Ado shamasana. Shije, shiche. Ado shiyaja, shawe. And appropriate greeting. Good morning, mother, grandmother, father, auntie, uncle, grandpa, grandma, my daughter, sweetheart, baby, dadadi, niya, laganek, echo, nihiteneni, dayat, shama, shiyaj, shate, shana. So those are really appropriate greeting. And when you go up to an office, and I would say like yat there'll be a young lady there, and the service can turn around and say, man, you know, nobody really calls me that. And how can I help you with it? Good morning, they really listen to your tone of voice. And if you go in abruptly angry, it's really hard to get the services that you're wanting. So the appropriate greeting, that's a key start of how to appropriately greet somebody, and then you'll get the service that you need. The reason why I use the CLANSHIP and the appropriate greeting from the beginning is the deities are listening. They're observing us. We don't see them. We don't see them, but they observe us. And so that the tradition sad, the chiklisad, that the yeho you eba aholia, the sad lini, your voice, your tone is sacred. When you talk about your clan, your greeting, everything is sacred. You're sacred. And this system builds respect, trust, friendliness between you and the customer, and you and your employee, your colleagues, the people you work with. So those are some of the things that I like to share within the CLANSHIP. Our philosophy, Navajo philosophy, Aro bentia taho ai anit bankidenes ha ishe alten philosophy belagana bazadna nashit nia johalet abel. And our philosophy is Navajos. We view the environment holistically. We strive for beauty, peace, joy, and harmony. The spiritual learning is sacred and makes us unique. The four sacred direction represents the following. So this from here is my teaching some of the things that were taught to me by my elders. Everybody is taught differently, and everybody's view is different. Sani dos twile and then the hiti the any clinic art labor cut els cohesi belakanek a bird's eye view the nia shin jano hot nihi keya ba ahani zen na himana hasan ba kat ni da hojani ye tlo Wajana dotle, jo yes, D dots eat ego be tadike, but ishin with ye COVID-19, oyonkines. Ado halet adi qua spiritual learning, leg and dabi after the nene, jo banaho, han banaho chish, a quadid and any lini, dan hidetnes la oyo la FIC la le quado central agency to aro yisanasha aron le western agency, eastern agency, northern agency. It's really unique to where we say things a little bit differently. We're taught things differently. So the east, according to my knowledge, it represents white-shelled thinking. And a lot of thinking goes into this plan. As a woman, as a leader of a household, you are to think for your children, your grandchildren, 30, 40 years down the road, not just tomorrow, not just next week, because you have to prepare. And that really stuck with me. And I often think about 30, 40 years ahead. How is our children, our grandchildren going to be? What are they going to encounter? What kind of teachings that we need to leave with them? South represents turquoise, and it's a lot of planning. Dito iji nahat shnila shanale eben nahat njoni it eto iji kwe holon ya at eto be ata eto besintahaja. That was planning, turquoise. And we put turquoise there, and we put stones there. This is what I want to accomplish within the next year. This is what I want to have. I want to work for this. I want to earn this. And Nollies and grandparents always told us, if you want something, you work for it. You look at the white shell. You did a lot of thinking. Look at the turquoise. That's a lot of planning that you got to do. So there's so many teachings in every one of these directions. West is the abalone socializing. Dashi tilke jikes tuisani bestedilnish. Stida art and then yo in do art and then densen. Dashi late. And we were taught, and I was taught, there's going to be a time in your life when you're going to work in a diversity workplace. You're not just going to work with nothing but Navajos. You're going to encounter non-Navajos. You're going to encounter non-Navajo leadership. You're going to have to learn to socialize. You're going to have to learn to adapt and adjust to these kind of people. You don't think that you're the only five-finger person, but as a five-finger individual, you are to respect every one of these individuals like your own family as a five-finger person. That's where that socializing would happen. And that was really grilled in me as well as from my grandparents. North represented blackjack and believing all will be well. And I say that because I always pray to that. And we've gone through so much from this pandemic. And I always tell myself, all will be well. And we all have different upbringings. We all have different beliefs. But the upbringing is what really taught me to realize what really needs to happen. And it was all on me to pray for myself that we're going to overcome this pandemic. I pray for myself, my family, and then also everybody. And when you become a leader, it's everybody's included, whether they're Navajo, non-Navajo, and it's just so much. And there are times it gets overwhelming, but that's the philosophy to where you have to look at the whole bigger picture. And the photo here is from Cal Springs. The Nenlon the Inash the Hinad Gloshi is it not Champa the Hoja? A shift kid, Nanahashi, it does kid. in care, but the Shina should that the need out quite each kid. Eba Hoshan do Nazi, not gloshi, do east got so she should not cut down neatly, not gloshi, but Ada by Henson. So our customers, but should that heal any don hit or any do not make eye contact. And this is disrespectful to them. So grandma and grandpa would say, so our customers don't really make that eye contact. But for us, we're like, hello, I'm over here. You know, we start thinking that way, but we have to be respectful. If somebody's not making eye contact, it does not mean that they're not listening. They are listening. They're here to get services, and we need to provide the best services that we can. We are shy and do not want to further discuss they don't want to further discuss their medical problems, sex, and death. Our customers do not want to further discuss medical problems, sex, and death. When I came part of a human resource profession, going on my 16th year in human resources, I've seen this, but in human resources, we had to talk to our employees about the medical, the sex, and then the death. And grandmas and grandpas would say, but when you become a leader, you have to have that understanding of these segments. So one of the biggest one that we've dealt with during the pandemic was death. And talking to people about, you know, beneficiary. And we have to explain that. No, we have to explain to them. So we had to do that. So as a human resource professional, all of you that are in the human resource field, sometimes we have to explain this to our customers, but don't do it out in public. Take them into a nice closed area and explain it to them. I'm not saying talk to them about it out in public and say it out loud, not like that. Take them in, and then you have to be a great listener. We are hesitant to ask questions. And back in the day, grandmas and grandpas would say, and it's like, oh man, I don't know this kid. But nowadays we have a lot of questions, right? You know, why? Why is it that you don't say that? Our kids would say that, our grandkids. Well, grandma said, no, quit asking questions, but explain to them, explain to our children, explain to the customers why. But our customers, they sometimes don't ask questions, but let them know, do you have any questions of what I stated? Make sure that they leave with that full understanding. And our customers, we rather seek a traditional practitioner for further guidance and or treatment. One example I'd like to share with this is you go to the hospital and they say, oh, well, this is wrong with you. The lab came back positive, your test came back positive. And then we freak out, we panic. And then there's oh, she done, could you, so, you know, they seek other guidance because the tone of voice that was maybe provided to them, they don't want to ask questions, but they can seek their own guidance. So there's a lot to our customers, and we have to have a really good understanding of our customers. And when we get customers and they're coming to us, to you, for guidance, for assistance, to get the service that they need. And we want to provide that. And this pandemic has taught us so much. Jo eat ati nahanatahi nihichitaos ini kwa apasala tihot tiholia tihadele aro obe big itchindanoshenship johadet out media. So help the customers provide the services that they need. Ado customers nosheni nihito saha ananata as a customer. Prepare yourself. Be ready, have a pen, pencil ready, and get information. Know where the resources are, ask about resources, and then having people speak to you in a rude manner, document. These are some of the things that our customers are not told. And sometimes we have customers that become irate, that are upset. We don't know what's going on at home. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what happened when they're on their way to the office or on their way to a building. We don't know that. So have some respect and have some courtesy to the customer. And then customer, the same thing. And I know I get a lot of stuff like, your employees need not to work if they're having a bad day. And I'll tell you about a lot of those things. Everybody has a good and a bad day, but there's so many things that are done behind the scene. We do the